Change Tomorrow Today, a radio show about good ideas for a better tomorrow. Talks with social entrepreneurs about projects that change people's lives. Change Tomorrow Today, a Rádio Miúdos.pt production for the European Investment Bank Institute.
Hi, welcome to a new episode of Change Tomorrow Today.
Today we are going to talk about emotions and emotional intelligence.
Why not learn about these emotional skills in a playful way?
This is a bit of what Peppy Pals proposes.
Rádio Miúdos talks today with Paulina Olsson. She's in Stockholm and we are based in Bombarral, Portugal. My name is Maria Catarina.
My name is Lenny. I'm in Scotland.
Change Tomorrow Today.
So, in simple words, what is Peppy Pals?
Peppy Pals is a series of apps, books, and videos teaching kids social and emotional skills. So emotions, empathy, collaboration, problem solving, and we do it using humor and storytelling. So there's no language or text in the apps, and it's really a playful way to learn about social skills.
What's the parents' rules throughout the children's games?
Kids could either play the games on their own, and they still get a learning as the characters that we have. They take them through different stories and they interact. But parents can also join and they can play with their children. Since it's small children that we're talking about, they're only between 2 to 6. And if they join, you can talk about what happens in a scenario. For instance, how does Sammy the horse feel when Gabby gets sad? Or how do you think Reggie the dog can help Izzy the owl? And have you ever felt like Reggie? And it's really a great tool to start conversations with your child.
You work in partnership with children. What's the difference between their minds and the adult ones?
So kids are very curious and they love to play and have fun, which obviously adults do too, but they're more in a playful mind, which is one of our key things that we think about when we design our products. So we don't go in and say that it needs to be educational. We say that it needs to be entertaining and that education is a bonus, which we always have, but kids need to find it fun. Otherwise, they won't learn. Another thing is that when we design our products, you need to think about the age group. So for instance, a 4-year-old, it's only at the time they're 4 that they can start developing empathy, whereas a 2-year-old, they don't understand the concept of sharing, and that's from a psychological perspective. So they're not meant to understand that. So we also have to think about having different scenarios that caters to different ages.
In what part of the daily routine can you come to assistance?
We say that Peppy Pals is a 24/7 concept. So whether you start the morning by watching a video on YouTube and then during the day you're in preschool and you can play with our plush toys or the apps or interact with the different activities that we have online. And then you come home and maybe you play with a sibling or with your adult. And before you go to bed, you read a book by Peppy Pals. So we try and involve different senses because kids learn differently. So some might want to read more books and others want to play more games. But we also want to make sure that we're part of an everyday life routine. So whether that's in a car, at home, in school, it's meant to be a holistic way of learning about social skills.
Who creates all the games and films?
We've done so ourselves. So in our team, we have a game designer, animator, developer, psychologist, and we've done everything that you can see in the app in-house. Even the music is something that we've produced with the help of friends. So it's really important that we can have the development internally for us as a team.
You also write books with psychologists. Is there a rule to create the stories?
Yes, we go through a checklist of different things that we want to include and cover. So first, since we're teaching kids social and emotional skills, we follow a research-based standard that we check that the idea that we have is something that is in alignment with the research and the psychology. And the idea that we have could either come from a parent or ourselves or even children. So sometimes we've asked children to be game designers and think of an idea themselves. For instance, now we have a new scenario that we're developing that is about not being invited to birthday parties. And that was from a child who said that this is something that I feel very emotional about and that I would like to have a scenario of. So once we have that idea, we check it with the research-based standard, and then we try and create a storyboard, which is simple, like pictures and visuals of what we think the scenario looks like before we go and code and animate and make illustrations, because that takes a lot of time. So we need to make sure that we do the minimum amount of work before we actually code. And when we do so, we also check that, is there humor? Will kids laugh when they see this? Is there a learning and a positive ending? And is it following the research-based standard? And then we go and design, and then we test with kids and make sure that they understand and that they think it's fun and playful and that they learn something. And then we usually get some feedback. So maybe they don't understand where to click or how to complete the game, or maybe they don't think something that we thought was funny is funny. So then we need to change that. And then we go back and we change the app or the game, and then it's pretty much done.
Who are the Peppy Pals characters and what does each one represent?
So the Peppy Pals characters are 5 animals. They all have different personalities. So to make sure that we can identify ourselves with some character. For instance, Gabby the rabbit is a bit more sensitive and shy, whereas Reggie the dog is more adventurous and can get into trouble sometimes. And it's meant to show that we're all different, but being different doesn't mean you can't be friends. It's more the opposite, that we really appreciate our differences and that they can come into handy in different situations. So the friends really complete each other, and they all love each other and want to have fun and support one another.
Is there a melody more appropriate for them? And what kind of instrument do you use?
So when we designed the music, we wanted it to be soothing, to be calm and not stressful. So Peppy Pals games is not about collecting scores or leveling or compete in any way. It's more like a calm narrative that you explore and you can feel with the characters. And in order to feel, when you feel with them, you also know how to solve the game and complete the game. So the music is adapted after that. The instruments that we use is actually not something that I know to 100%. We have guitars and piano and ukulele, even when we have like a beach theme. And it's something that we've produced on our computer and in a studio with our friend that does music.
Could this way of learning be used in schools in the future?
I hope so. We work a lot with trying to get more playful learning into school systems. We believe that both kids and adults learn better when they have fun. And we really hope that digital will become something that is more natural and part of everyday learning. Because, for instance, when you have a video and a visual story, it's easier to relate to that and understand and also remember compared to when you perhaps read a book, because it can be a lot of text and we don't have pictures, and it's more interactive to play games. And you can learn a lot from playing games, and it becomes a multiplayer game sometimes. So I hope that we will see more of that, and we're lobbying for that to happen, at least in the European system.
Would you say emotional intelligence is as important as mental intelligence?
Yes, It really is. And I think it should be valued just as important. It's not that something is better or worse. So we try to explain the difference between your academic, like educational skills you learn in school, and the emotional skills, emotional intelligence, by visualizing an iceberg. So in order for the iceberg to float in water, you need both the top that you can see, but there's also a big part that is underneath the water. And this is exactly the same for your mental health or your IQ, as well as your emotional intelligence. So the things that we measure, that we have grades for, and that we have tests in school, it's the academic skills, and that's visible, the visible part of the iceberg. But that's only like 15% of what makes us human beings and what makes you and me, because there's also a lot inside us, which is the bottom of the iceberg that we cannot see. And that has to do with our emotions and how we learn to collaborate, how we understand each other, how we understand our own emotions so we can deal with stress. And when we deal with those emotions, we perform better. So we need both IQ and EQ to go hand in hand, because that's what makes a complete person that is healthy and empathic.
What do children gain for the future with these resources?
So a lot of research, and it comes from the OECD and World Economic Forum and the big organizations that are working towards creating a better future. They're all saying that the 21st century skills is social and emotional learning. So the more robots that we get into the world, the less of those skills we will need, and the more we need to learn how to work with each other and be a good leader or a team player. And these are all skills that kids with Peppy Pals learn from an early age. So they will be relevant for the workforce in the future.
Thanks, Paulina.
We talked about emotions and intelligence. Peppy Pals, go check them on the internet and try their games.
This is the end of this episode. We will be back soon with more talks about the way people's ideas of today will shape the future tomorrow. My name is Maria Catarina.
And I'm Lenny. See you soon.
Change tomorrow today. A radio show about good ideas for a better tomorrow. Talks with social entrepreneurs about projects that change people's lives. Change tomorrow today. A Rádio Miúdos.pt production for the European Investment Bank Institute.